With the coolest Excalibur alt, cutest idle animation, Cartethyia is finally here and my wallet no longer exists. Hello internet! Welcome to a complete Cartethyia guide, where I'll be going through how to build and play her. Do note that I've referenced other sources, which all links will be in the description down below. And for now, let's just start with an overview of Cartethyia. Cartethyia is an immensely strong damage dealer, and with her best team of Chakota and Arrow Rover. With the coolest animations, 2 forms to switch around, it is truly one of the best characters that's ever graced Wuthering Waves in terms of both design and usage. With all the glazing out the way, let's start without dilly-dallying. The way you want to play Cartethyia is step 1, obtain all the buffs by maxing your forte gauge, which is basically these 3 sword icons. You can gain each of these swords via Cartethia's intro skill, her 4th hit off her basic attack, and her resonance skill. Do note that you want to make sure you use her skill last, since she actually ends up mid-air after using it. That will allow you to perform a mid-air attack right after, which is what you want to do. Once all 3 swords are present, use a mid-air attack which recalls all of these swords and buffs Cartethyia. That will be all for step 1, and step 2 here will be using her ultimate, where she'll turn into Fleurdelys and deal the most damage. In this mode, use her basic or resonance skill. You'll do a lot more damage and charge up your forte gauge here. Once you max this forte, you can use your second liberation, and this time using Fleurdelys and watching the greatest Excalibur slash ever recorded in human history. But yep, that will be the general overview. Let's break down the intricacies that happens during all of her combos though. In her general rotation, you'll trigger her intro skill, which applies 2 stacks of air erosion on the enemy, and you'll gain 1 sword already. This is where you can instantly chain into your basic attack, which will start from the 2nd hit if done this way. Keep doing your basic till your 4th basic attack to gain your 2nd sword. Once you do, use your resonance skill, which applies 2 stacks of air erosion again on the enemy, and you gain your 3rd sword. Cartethyia also launches herself mid-air, where you can instantly use basic to perform a mid-air attack that gathers all swords and buffs Cartethyia. The buffs you gain are insane. Here's a picture of it on screen. There's a stagnant effect along the Fleurdelys' stage 4 basic. She gains interruption resistance, 50% air erosion damage amplification, 50% damage and perma decrease, and arrow erosion stack increases. Once you obtain all swords and do the plunge attack, use your ult and that will activate all of your buffs while reducing your HP by 50%. This is when you're at the highest damage output and you want to use your resonance skill and basics to deal massive damage and charge up your forte. Once it is maxed, your second ult should be available. Use it and deal massive damage again while healing 50% of your max HP back. This will clear out all of your buffs gained from the swords earlier, and it clears out the enemies' arrow erosion stacks as well. Based on the stacks cleared, it amplifies the damage taken by the targets by 20% up to 5 total stacks. This means it's up to 100% damage taken increase in total. Unethical amounts of damage boosted.
Now that's a lot of damage!
This does mean you want to make sure the enemies have 5 stacks of arrow erosion before using your second ultimate to get the full benefits. Now let's take a look at her inherent skills, which happens all throughout her rotation. The first one increases all other allies' healing received and increases interruption resistance, which both perfectly aids Arrow Rover and Chakota. Not to mention, she also allows Arrow Rover to restore 25 extra wind strings, which helps smooth out the Concerto game for Rover. Her intro and outro skills are both on screen. Performing her combo fully utilizes her intro skill's effect, while her outro skill is an arrow damage amplify for all other allies when hitting targets with negative statuses. All of this just emphasizes how important it is to use Cartethyia with the arrow squad of Rover and Chakota. Now that you understand her kit, it's time to take a look at her echoes and build. The best set is obviously the newest 5-piece Windward Pilgrimage set. When it comes to her echo cost, you will want to use the 44111 setup, and the reason behind is that the cost 3 echoes have flat attack as their default substats, while the cost 1 echoes have flat HP as their default substat. For a HP scale like Cartethyia, she greatly benefits from the cost 1 echoes with a flat HP compared to the attack flat stats you get from cost 3 echoes. Not to mention, her main weapon comes with HP % main stats, while her kit is already loaded with arrow damage bonus. Hence, focusing on crit rate or crit damage with double cost for echoes are more beneficial. The best main cost for echo will be Fleurdelys with crit rate or crit damage as main stats. The second cost for echo can be any type with crit rate or crit damage as main stats, but it is recommended to try and avoid using crit rate on both costs for echo, since her set itself already comes with 10% crit rate, and Cartethyia herself also have crit rate nodes in her skill upgrades. You don't want too much crit rate and not enough crit damage, right? Use HP % main stats on all cost 1 echoes. And as for substats, prioritize crit rate crit damage, then HP %, then flat HP, followed by normal attack bonus or resonance liberation bonus. It is also recommended to have at least 110% energy regen to avoid times where you don't have your ult up when you need it. With that said, let's move on and take a look at her weapons. The best in slot is obviously her own signature, which comes with HP percent main stat while providing defense ignore and increased damage taken on the target. This weapon is made for her, and unfortunately there are no obvious alternatives that can perform at similar levels at all. The best alternative would be Camellia's weapon, Red Spring, but expect her performance to be at 18% lower. Any other weapons are even less ideal, but if you really can't get her weapon, consider Blazing Brilliance, Emerald of Genesis, and Guardian Sword. Do note though, all of these are not quite suitable, but well, if you don't have a choice, these are the ones you want to look for. As for skill priority, prioritize upgrading her inherent skills first, obviously, then Forte Circuit, followed by Resonance Liberation, then Normal Attack. The rest are not needed, but good to have. And with all that covered, let's take a look at her best teams and general combo rotation. Her best team is most certainly Cartethyia, Chakota, and Arrow Rover. One easy alternative to use would be Cartethyia, Shorekeeper, and Chakota. However, do expect about 10% damage fall off when you do swap out Arrow Rover with a Shorekeeper without any resonance chain. The more accessible option would be Cartethyia, Arrow Rover, and Shorekeeper. But this team is quite challenging to play optimally though. Any other characters can be used too, since Cartethyia can activate everything she needs with mostly just applying Arrow Erosion, which she can technically do herself, but note that all alternatives comes with their own damage fall off, since the best team do have a healthy amount of Arrow Erosion supports for every single character. For this video, I'll be covering the best team, but do expect more videos of different combos to come. With the best team of Arrow Rover, Chakota, and Cartethyia, the rotation will work like this. Start with Arrow Rover, use your resonance skill to rise up mid-air, use 3 basic attacks to land back down, then use your skill again to rise up, do 2 basics this time, then use your resonance liberation. After that, use your skill twice followed by the echo. Your concerto should be maxed. Here's where you swap to Chakota. Use 2 basics, then a jump, then 3 basic attacks, then use 1 resonance skill. Your forte should be maxed here, so use your enhanced charged attack. Then use your echo and use your liberation next, and you should have your concerto maxed right now too. Here's where you want to swap over to Cartethyia. Now you want to use 3 basic attacks to gain 2 swords in total. Then use your skill to gain your 3rd sword, followed by a basic to do the plunged attack. Then use your liberation. Use your skill twice, then spam your basic until your forte is maxed. Once it maxes, use your 2nd liberation, then use your echo, and that is when you max your concerto and your DPS phase. Swap back out to Arrow Rover and repeat. Do keep in mind though, this time when Arrow Rover is coming in, she will already be mid-air with her intro skill. You can skip the first skill usage and just do the 3 basics to land back down, then rinse and repeat the rest. This combo is relatively simple to do, and you'll reap the best benefits from all of their kits. And I'm sure you'll be able to enjoy what Cartethyia has to offer by nailing this down pat. So yep, better get practicing. Moving on, let's take a look at her resonance chains. To start with the conclusion, I recommend going for a weapon first, then consider any resonance chain. If you are considering pulling her dupes, I recommend going for her S2, which increases the max stack limit of Arrow Erosion by 3 after using her 2nd liberation. This makes it much easier to trigger her 2nd inherent skill fully for the maximum damage increase. On top of that, the next attack after that liberation will also inflict 3 stacks of Arrow Erosion on all targets within the range and immediately triggers the Arrow Erosion damage without consuming the stacks. This allows Arrow Erosion to be inflicted a lot more consistently at a higher limit. It's quite beneficial overall. The next recommended resonance chain would be S6, which raises the Arrow Erosion stacks on targets hit to the max amount after using her 2nd liberation. It also no longer clears out the Arrow Erosion stacks like it would before. On top of that, when any ally inflicts Arrow Erosion on targets with max stacks of it already, it will immediately trigger the Arrow Erosion damage 1 time. This is a very high jump in damage output, as expected of needing to pull 6 of her to reach this one. And with all that said, let's conclude on Cartethyia. She's immensely strong with her best team with very interesting kit and gameplay. Her alternative teams can be used, though it would be noticeably less ideal. I recommend going for whoever you love playing anyway, and I'll say the same for Cartethyia too, even if you don't own Chakota. You can get Chakota eventually with reruns in the future, but for meta players that just want the perfect setup, you will have to have Chakota in your account, or it may be wiser to just wait for the next batters where you do own their perfect team setup in the future. And that will be all for today's guide, and I hope I helped you out. I wish you the best of luck with Cartethia's pulls, and that is all. Take care!